Hello, everyone. This is Howard Fox, and welcome back for another episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series, the podcast where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, access, and enjoyment of the outdoors. J.R. Meek and Ed Caum are our guests today. J.R. is the new Marketing and Community Development Coordinator for Travel Wrangell, and Ed is the Tourism Coordinator for the Wrangell Cooperative Association. J.R. and Ed, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Hey,
great to be
welcome.
here.
Excellent. Now, first off, J.R., I know you are in Wrangell, and I'm going to ask the magic question in just a second. Ed, there's too much sun on your forehead right now, okay? I mean, like you're well lit, and where are you right now?
Although I do have a nice blue shirt on, I am thawing in Florida.
Okay. Thought in Florida, I love that. And I was sharing with JR a minute ago. At this time last year, I was busy preparing for my, I went on a small ship cruise up in Alaska with Uncruise Adventures. I was doing some podcasting on the boat. And all I remember, I was buying a lot of rainwear. That's all I can remember. So,
Well, it's
well,
really, I come down here on a regular basis because of the doctors down here for my wife. But I'll tell you, there were several times already this winter where it was warmer in Wrangell than it was here in Clearwater, Florida. So I always tease my friends that say that they think I'm going to this great white north to live in igloos and chase polar bears. And I say, no, that's not really what Alaska is. And Wrangell is a beautiful temperate climate, and the weather is always great.
I love
A
that.
little
So you're-
wet sometimes.
Little wet, but okay. So there was another question I asked JR. We got to get him a list of facts and figures here. What are the boots that as I was researching, what kind of clothing do I need? There was this recommendation for these rubber boots that people would wear on the docks, on the fishing boats in town when the muddy puddles going down Main Street. Do you recall the name of these boots?
Sure. Growing up, we called them Wrangell sneakers.
Okay.
And there's a couple different brands over the years that have gotten pretty good use, but I think the ones that everybody's buying right now are extra tough. And they've actually gotten to the point where the liners now have designs and all on them, so that if you want to roll them down to be cool, you can have them match whatever your outfit is. But the fishing guys always buy the stuff that's durable and warm. And hey, one of the secrets to having a good pair of extra toughs is put a good pair of felt liners in the bottom.
Yeah.
That always helps keep your feet warm no matter what.
I love that. I remember how much fun it was even walking in the bush area on shore with those, but I stayed upright. I didn't fall down too much. But listen, so again, I appreciate you two being on the show. Jay, I want to start with you. So you are the Marketing and Community Development Coordinator. For our listeners, where can we find Wrangell? We kind of gave it away a little bit, but
Right.
where can we find Wrangell?
Right, yeah. So the best way to really find Wrangell and definitely just a lot more information is www.travelwrangell.com. It will
Okay.
give you a full overview of the list of our locations that we have there, as well
Okay.
as just some information on how to get there, getting around town, and just some other services, especially
Okay.
the direct, because that's also very
Okay.
helpful to know.
Sounds good. Now, uh, I think we kind of gave it away in some of this conversation talking about Alaska, but and Ed just talked about the temperate nature. We're going to hopefully look at a map shortly when we kind of go through the website, but
Right.
where can our listeners, if they're going to look for Wrangell on the map and do a Google search or whatever search tool of their choice is, where will they find Wrangell?
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of tucked away in the southeast of Alaska. There's kind of a place called they call it the Inside Passage.
Okay.
It's where we're kind of inside of a cluster of islands, and we're
Okay.
kind of right in the middle between Petersburg and Ketchikan.
Okay.
And there's sometimes kind of a big line that'll go pass right through Ketchikan, Wrangell, Petersburg, Juneau, etc. And then that's kind of typically a cruise ship lines where they will go and just visit those islands. And it's also airlines. They do kind of like they call them milk run. It's where
Okay.
you do like an island hop between each island, where you'll go up in the air for like 30 minutes, 45, then you reach down to the next island, and then you do the same thing over and over again.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, as far as Wrangell is concerned, and you have a tourism association.
Mhm.
Uh, what are the highlights of Wrangell? Who are the folks that are going to come and pay a visit?
Yeah, so we really welcome in like independent travelers and families who would love to spend a few days just exploring Wrangell, the locations that we have to offer, and the history. There's kind of like a lot to really do here in Wrangell. We have like several locations like the Stikine River, the Anan Observatory. That's just kind of like really hard to get done in like a day
Okay.
because you're going to be at least a few hours at each of these locations. So we just really encourage people who want to spend, let's say, like a week here
Mhm.
in Wrangell. You get to do like so many of these iconic locations, but still have a lot more left to discover.
Okay. Very good. Now, but before I get over to Ed, how you've been in this job for a year? How did you visit Wrangell in your youth? Where you have relatives that live there? Were you born and raised there? Or what brought you like, gee, I want to go back to Wrangell, or I want to go to Wrangell?
Right. I've actually just started this position. I've actually moved here just a little over a month ago,
Okay.
in late January. The reason that I was never like really born and raised in Wrangell. I was actually born and raised in, well, technically I'm raised all over the United States. That's kind of more of
Okay.
an accurate description, but I was born in Kentucky.
Okay.
And how I knew about Wrangell was from my parents. My
Ah.
dad worked as the chief of police here in Wrangell before,
Oh,
pretty
wow.
much like sometime last year. And then he kind of told me about this position. Hey, there's a marketing community development coordinator. You could apply for this. And so looked into Wrangell. I discovered, pretty much like any other visitor would through the Travel Wrangell website.
Mhm.
I liked what they have. It just looked like a very beautiful place to be. And I
Mhm.
said, you know what? I'll put in an application. And then just last year, I got the job offer. I was really excited. I moved up here and now I'm getting to experience Wrangell. I'm still experiencing a lot of Wrangell of what it has to offer, but I just really love this place. And I think I'll probably be here for a very long time.
Okay. Very good. Now, Ed, how's the community embraced J.R. so far?
He has done awesome. He stepped right in. I think it was his first week there. He actually traveled to Chicago to a travel adventure show,
Oh, yeah.
and we kind of threw
Oh,
him out
yes.
to the wolves there, and he stood behind the table and he bellied right up and started learning all the ins and outs of what we were saying and picked up on basically everything. His dad and I have gotten close, and J.R. has had the chance to start exploring the area around there. And part of his job is going out on these excursions and all. So you're going to see as he develops out the website and the social media for the city
Mhm.
that he's actually going to be telling about his adventures as he sees them for the first time. Whereas I, on the other hand, have been in Wrangell since 1964. My father was a missionary and started off up in Alaska flying above the Arctic Circle, and then he took the Episcopal Church there in Wrangell. So I'm a hometown boy there, and everybody knows me as such. I graduated from the high school there in 1978, and then after 40 years of military service and working in some government operation stuff, I've come back to give back to that beautiful little town. And we really are a hidden gem in Southeast Alaska. There's no other place quite like it. And I mean, think about a lot of hometowns, the iconic Anan Creek, the iconic Stikine River where the gold rush happened. I mean, there's just not another town in Southeast Alaska that has this same flavor. Major fishing community. It used to have two lumber mills in it, and the town has been a solid 1,500 people forever. And then we swell up to about twice that during the summer, and still have several canneries that are operating on the island, serving the fishing fleet.
Okay. Now you are the right as part of your giving back to tourism coordinator for the Wrangell Cooperative Association. Share with our listeners a little bit more about what is the mission of the Cooperative Association.
Sure. So if you want to find out a little bit more about what we do as far as the tribe and tourism, you go to www.visitwrangell.com.
Okay.
And it's Wrangell Cooperative Association, which is the tribal administration and the tribal organization for the Tlingit and Haida tribes in the Wrangell area. It is a sovereign nation. The Wrangell Cooperative Association is a sovereign nation, and they have all the same rights and everything as a traditional government, is recognized by the United States as its own government. And therefore, the elected people on the council and all are elected in there, and they make the decisions on doing things that are the best for the tribe. Part of that, and one of the things that they want to champion is teaching the culture and doing cultural exchanges. Back in the late 1800s, when the Russians and British arrived, the native tribes were there. And then once the Americans came on board, everybody was trying to have the indigenous peoples act like Anglos or follow the rules of the whites. And after a few years, that all started to happen. But at the same time, they were told they couldn't speak their language. They couldn't gather in groups of more than three. And they really lost a whole lot of their language. They just forgot it. For generations, they didn't speak it. So now since 1983, we are actually back in the schools and Head Start all children, whether they be Indigenous or white or Hispanic or African American, whatever, they're all taught to speak Tlingit, which is the native language for the people in this area. And that started in 83. And now you go clear through here. I graduated in 78 and I had a choice of taking French or German. Now, if you graduate from Wrangell High School in Wrangell, Alaska, your choice of your foreign language is Tlingit and only Tlingit. And the oxymoron there is that is the indigenous language. It's not a foreign language.
Okay. I love that. And how is the community, and now and you'll correct me if I don't know, or forgive me if I don't know, but there is the Anglos, and then you have the First Peoples community, the Tlingit, and the other tribe that you had mentioned. Please share that. What was the name of the other tribe?
The Haida, Tlingit
Haida.
and Haida,
Okay.
they're all along the Inside Passage. We
Okay.
have a sector, and then the Haida and the Tlingit have always been very, very close together.
Okay.
The tribes in this area were very warring because they had to fight for fishing rights and for hunting rights and gathering rights. So they were a warrior nation. But the Tlingits and the Haidas have really always gotten along pretty well, sharing as much as you can. But the fishing rights were taken away from the Indians, by white laws. We've encroached on their areas, so now we're trying to teach the people how to take care of the environment. So we get these streams back. Streams that used to have fish in them don't anymore. And part of that is because the Indians in the area always struck the balance. You always have to have balance in anything you do. You give, you take, you give, you take. And the beautiful thing back then is they didn't have the problems that we're having now.
Right.
They worked together to make things happen. Communities gathered food together. They shared food together. It's just not like what you see it now. And they have been in that area for, get this, 10,000 years.
Oh, wow.
We're not talking a couple of decades. We have documented history of our people, the native people here, have been around for up to 10,000 years. And the one fire pit there on the island in Wrangell, Alaska, there was carbon dating done to over 800 years ago, just on that island where they moved the old town to. So they've been here a long time and they do things the right way. And when we get it out of whack, we pay for it like we do now with the fishing has changed and everything's just changed a little bit. So now we're trying to find ways to teach people to be sustainable, and who is more sustainable and takes care of Mother Earth more than our indigenous cultures.
Right. Right. I want to, there's a question I want to touch on in a minute regarding the 10,000 years of history. how do you know that? But before we get there, Ed, I want to go back to JR for a second.
Mhm.
When you have your part of your mission is to attract the visitor to Wrangell to experience not only Mother Nature, the whether it's offshore, near shore, onshore, but also to embrace the cultures that are there. So the Haida and the Tlingit.
Mhm.
How do you help, or what are some of your thoughts on preparing the visitor? Someone like me who was in Alaska second time. I was in uh, up in near Anchorage and to Denali to Fairbanks via the railroad. But when you're in your area where you are going to interact more closely with the indigenous populations, how do you prepare the visitor for that type of engagement so they're not just, as Ed was alluding to, the Anglo, we come in, we destroy things. We have it's I don't know if it's our nature, but we do. But how is the tourism association going to help to prepare the visitor for this experience?
I'm very glad you asked. And that's just kind of a question that has been roaming, mostly because this position that I have, and my superior, Kate Thomas's position, was kind of more recently created in the tourism market. And it's just kind of like trying to find that balance of between of respecting our local community, the Wrangell residents, the visitor industry, and the city and borough of Wrangell government. And so we ended up striking something of a aha moment, if you will. And we were able to work together to create a quality visitor experience while also not disrupting the local community. The creation of the Tourism Best Management Practices, TBMP for short. It is a voluntary program to minimize the impact of tourism on the local community, and it comprises of tour operators, cruise lines, transportation providers, merchants, hospitality businesses, tour brokers, the Tongass National Forest, and the local government. Wrangell adopted the program from Juneau and then tailored it to address the specific needs in our community. And there's two very important features of TBMP, guidelines and hotlines.
Okay.
And the guidelines are a set of the best practices tailored for each segment of Wrangell's visitor industry, including our tour operations such as sightseeing, whale watching, cruise lines, and transportation providers. And these guidelines are reviewed and updated annually in the spring to ensure that they remain effective and relevant. And the last feature is the hotlines. And our residents can use these hotlines, whether that's through phone, email, or through our webpage on Travel Wrangell, and to submit concerns, complaints, or even compliments about Wrangell's tourism activities. And these submissions are forwarded directly to the tour operators involved, who then respond to the submitter with any action taken to address the issue.
Okay.
And this just really encapsulates the desire to welcome visitors to our community, but not at the expense of the locals,
Okay.
including our tribe.
I appreciate that. And as I was kind of reviewing the website, I came across the guidelines and the hotlines, and I thought that's very cool. And which leads me to a question before the question, Ed, that I was going to ask you.
Mhm.
How are the indigenous populations, the Tlingit, the Haida, how are they? I don't want to say the word embracing. Maybe that's a good word. Maybe it's not. But how are they adapting to this desire to have more visitors coming into this community? Because 1,500, that's not the. I mean, I've got 1,500 people probably within a square mile of where I live right now. So that when you double that to 3,000 visitors, that's a lot of people. So how are they adapting to this desire to increase awareness and have people come visit?
Yeah, so several of our council members are now retired teachers. So back in the 80s, when the tribes, the main tribe out of Sitka decided to go back into exploring their culture and relearning their culture, they decided that the best way to do that is to share it and share it widely so that it's never lost again. And then there've been a lot of languages throughout history that have just disappeared, and they didn't want that to happen. So now that they've got it in the schools, these are the ones that are coming down and during the cruise ships in town, they're doing the dances and the storytelling and all in the traditional tribal house or out in our totem park, out at Shakes Island, or even sometimes we do performances out at the petroglyphs, which are carvings in the rock that have been out on the north side of the island for many thousands of years. And they basically were navigational aids and also a way to say that our tribe was here. So they have embraced it in that it's an opportunity to share their culture so people understand the culture or at least are exposed to it so that it's not eradicated again in the future.
Okay. When you have the visitors come into Wrangell, are they going to come in and experience what you have to offer? Are they coming in on the big cruise ship, or is it going to be the small cruise ships like I was on Cruise Adventures?
JR, you want
Y-
to take that? Because you've got the city behind you on why we made the decision a long time ago not to go big.
Yes, it's kind of like a cruise ship life, like a yes and no answer. Like,
Okay.
yes, we do take on like small and mid-sized cruise ships, kind of like not really exceeding 2,000, 3,000 passengers.
Okay.
We just don't really try to take on larger than that, like the 5,000 to 10,000 passengers, because we
Okay.
just don't really have that capacity to take that many people.
Right.
It was just the decision made by our community to not become a cruise ship town, meaning
Right.
they wanted to maintain that remote feeling and not sacrificing the integrity of our local population in Wrangell.
Okay.
And we're just really trying to gear it towards just independent travelers, just so that way people, instead of like spending 8 hours here, just trying to do as much as you can, just take a week up here and just see everything that you need to do here in Wrangell and just really get that full experience. Whether
Mhm.
that's like going to just the King River to go fishing, want to go golfing at Muskie Meadows. Did I pronounce that right, Ed? Muskie?
Yep, Muskeg Meadows. Yep.
Wait
Muskie.
a minute. You guys have golf course there?
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
we
we've
got
got a
sorry,
Go.
Ed. Yeah, we definitely do have like a golf course here in
Oh, wow.
Wrangell, and it's a really nice one because you get to have mountains, the Tongass National Forest, and then if you want to go on a trail afterwards, it's just right next to the golf course.
I I would not have guessed that, but, I didn't zoom in close enough on the map, I think. Alright, well, that's very cool. One quick question, and I do wanna go up I have to ask still have to ask you that question that's on my mind, Ed, regarding the
Mhm.
10,000 years. When the ideal visitors coming in, and I'm suspecting there's smaller groups, much more intimate experiences, but if, organizations wanted to come in and just explore the best that Wrangell and the surrounding areas had to offer. Are they gonna fly into like Seattle or Anchorage to your community, into your strip? How are they gonna get there? Let's say it's 10, 15, 20 visitors.
Sure. So the easiest way to do that is think about the milk run that JR was talking about. Now, the milk run back in my day in the 60s was done in PBYs and Grumman Gooses.
Mhm.
That was what we flew and landed on the water. Now we actually have the 737s, and there is a northbound flight every day out of Seattle, and there is a southbound flight every day out of up north Anchorage down. So you can hit us either way. And it is interesting, which what JR was talking about earlier is like, it's about 2 hours, just under 2 hours from Seattle to Ketchikan, and then Ketchikan to Wrangell, depending on the weather and which way they land on the runway, is about 35 minutes. And then you've got about 18 minutes to Petersburg for the next leg, and then Juneau, and then a little longer up to Anchorage. But there's a flight in and out every day, one northbound and one southbound. When we were in Chicago, we had a picture up of a line going up the inside passage, and everybody said, "Is that where the tour boats go?" I said, "Yeah, the tour boats do that too, but that's also Alaska Airlines. You got a northbound flight and a southbound flight every day. So we have 2 air stops a day. You can get to us either way, Anchorage
Okay.
or Seattle."
No, I love that. I love that, and it's not lost, by the way, gentlemen. When I first met JR and we talked about coming on the podcast, I did do my obligatory Google search on Okay, what does it take to get from Las Vegas to Wrangell? I want you to know I did that. So that's a hint, guys. All right. Ed, I got to ask this question. You mentioned about the 10,000 years of history. What are some of the evidence that would point to that besides the scientific carbon dating and doing those types of tests? What other evidence is out there for in terms of the native population just showing it, displaying it, but also folks like me who want to come in, visit, and take advantage of this community? What am I going to see that represents that 10,000 years?
Great question. So the Tlingit and the Haida did not have a written language. It was a spoken language. So we have archaeological sites which we can see, and we know where they lived, where their gathering camps were, and all that. But they have totems, and they told their stories in totems. Now, a totem that is carved in Southeast Alaska is usually carved on a 350-year-old tree. And once you carve them and put them out in the environment, they're good for about 110, 130 years. And each of those totem poles tell a story, whether it be a family story, a tall tale, if you will, like a fairy tale. But the fairy tales that they tell are much like what we grew up with as Anglos, with your Aesop's fables or your Grimm's fairy tales, that there's a lot of morals within those stories. So the totems are a great record of what happened. The stories that were told about the time before whites and all were here, they actually have stories that go back to them coming down from the interior, going under a giant glacier to coming out into basically off of the Taku ice sheet back down to where they remembered the stories of their ancestors to great gathering and fishing and hunting places. And they actually went down in a tunnel through the ice and came out underneath the ice wall. And then they repopulated down here. They also have a story that they tell about the Great Flood. And the Great Flood happened, and they had to follow a bear, an ermine, and a goat up a mountain. And the name for the mountain is still used in their tongue just north of Wrangell. And we call it Devil's Thumb, is what the Anglos had called it, because it's really quite a sharp precipice like you think of in the Alps, not so much a rounded glacial carved mountain like are normally around here. So it was definitely above the ice and the glacial flows. But they talk about following those animals up there. And it's a great story that you can hear told by different tribes, not just the Tlingit and the Haida, but also on the Canadian side and further north about the Great Flood. And the Great Flood, as we know from biblical times, was really about the same time as Noah. So the carbon dating is the science that backs up the oral history of the indigenous folks from Southeast Alaska.
Okay. Very nice. Thank you. Well, before we go out to the website, and we've got golf. I still can't believe there's a golf course, but my roommate's boyfriend will like that because he's a big time golfer. So
nice. And if you don't want to, if you don't want to do the ball golf, we also have the disc golf, and you can pack a disc. You can pack a disc golf set a lot easier than you can pack golf clubs all the way up to Alaska. So you can drop them in your carry-on backpack.
All right. So when I get up to Wrangell, gentlemen, we're going disc golf playing. I love that.
Awesome.
Right.
I love it.
Besides golf, disc golf, fishing, hunting, hiking, you've got the native, the house, the common houses where you have the gatherings and the storytelling, the dancing. What other activities can the visitor who wants to come in spend a couple days, a week with you all? What else can they experience up there?
We have a trail guide. If you go to our Wander Wrangell, and J.R. can give you more details on that. But you can also do self-guided tours that will whet your interest and your appetite for learning more. And then we have a really, really great museum there downtown, right on the waterfront, that is really popular with the cruise tourists because they can get in and out of it and see a whole lot real quick. For the
Okay.
immersion or independent traveler, we have some great ideas. One of the things that J.R. and Kate rolled out this year is there is a itinerary, so that if you were going to be there 1, 2, or 3 days, there's suggested amounts clear up to 7 days, and that includes your flight time in and out. So we actually have an itinerary that's already built for people that want to do that.
Well, I
J.R.,
love
you want
that.
to take it from there? You got some other stuff to add?
Yes, and speaking of guides, we also do have like a charters that you can book.
Okay.
Some kind of like water taxis, air charters. It's just kind of like we do have like tour operations that you can do like guided tours on, just to really get like the most out of your experience as opposed to just going there and looking at it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then speaking of like guides, we also do have like some services around like shuttle services that can
Okay.
take you from the ferry and the airports. And some hotels do offer some services. Just need to get in contact with them and find out more.
Okay. Okay.
And speaking of guides, Wrangell, at least the town itself, you can just really get to anywhere on foot. Like if you just need to go to a quick grocery store, grab food, or you just need a quick bite to eat, it's just takes you about 3 minutes
That
to walk there.
that's my kind of town. And by the way, is we're gonna go out to the website, but I'm a food guy, gentlemen, and I love
Mhm.
good home cooking and I love a good cup of coffee, preferably with the scenery like I have on my photo here. Okay. That's
No,
another
like a
hint.
scenery.
All right. I like a good scenery. I like coffee with my scenery. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And hopefully, with the miracle of technology here, let me get rid of that. Well, first off, I want to do is I am going to share my screen and we're going to do a couple shares here. This is the map that I was kind of thinking about. You guys should be
Mhm.
able to see this now.
Yep. Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and here's Wrangell. Here's Ketchikan. I know Ketchikan. I see Juneau. That's where I flew into. I
Mhm.
love these maps. And there we are, Wrangell. There we go.
Yep, right there next to Petersburg.
Okay. So, and if we pull out here, and you can kind of see that's the inside passage, which is right here. Okay.
Mhm.
Very cool. And actually, it's not that far from Seattle. Wow.
No,
So
it's not.
very good.
Well,
All right.
it is if you're walking.
If you're walking, I
Right.
have a friend here in Las Vegas that is a photographer, and she also does some tour operations. But she drove up into Alaska. I don't know how she did it. I have to go and ask her. But
Mm.
it's probably not drivable, I would imagine. Getting from
Not Yeah,
okay,
not into Wrangell, but the Alcan Highway was actually built by the Civilian Conservation Corps, and then
okay,
expedited during World War II with the Army Corps of Engineers, so that they could get supplies and materials up to Anchorage and Fairbanks when the Japanese had attacked the Aleutians. But you can
okay.
actually drive all the way up through British Columbia and then back into Alaska. I've done it several times, and it's quite the adventure. I like to camp and all.
Okay.
Back in the day, it was more a lighter camping fare and all. And
Right.
now I've got the RV. But yeah, to get to our town, we definitely are landlocked in that we are an island. So you do have to do the fly. There is a ferry system that you can put your vehicles on and come up. The ferry system isn't as well funded as it has been in the past, so it's not as reliable. But really, the best place for an immersive experience is fly into Wrangell, and you won't need a car. You can rent a car. We have that availability. But like JR said, everything really is pretty much walkable. And then you've got the shuttle services or the tours that you can do.
I love it. I love it. All right. Now you guys have to tell me. I may have to unshare and share again. I
Mhm.
just switched over to the website. Can you still see the website now?
Yeah, you got
Yes,
it.
sir.
All right, love it. And while we're here, for our listeners, if you're ready to travel outside the lines, Wrangell, Alaska,
Mhm.
just put your email address there. I'm going to go in and I've now subscribed, so I'm in. All right. So
Nice.
JR, let's kick the tires a little bit, and then where should we go? And Ed, you jump in as well. So where should we go on the website?
All right, let's go ahead and here, you know what? Let's go ahead and go on things to do. I know people are very curious about
Okay.
what our locations offer, why don't we click on Anan Bears? Because that has been our number one popular tourist attraction.
Okay.
The Anan Bear and Wildlife Observatory. This is pretty much 30 miles south of Wrangell,
Oh boy.
managed by the Tongass National Forest. And I know pretty much gets to like be up close to a bear. You don't really get that much of an experience elsewhere, but it's really like a very beautiful place where you get to be much closer to wildlife and you get to like observe the hundreds and hundreds of black and brown bears. Because we
Okay.
have like a salmon that really goes upriver, and that's where they really uh go over there just to like feast on it. And you
Mhm.
just be able to like really capture that. So it's like really a photographer's
I love it.
paradise.
When I asked you guys before we started the podcast, did you meet my friend Amy Gulick? She wrote the book Salmon in Trees. And this is actually why you have salmon in trees, is because the bears are eating and they're defecating, and that matter is now, the salmon is now showing up in the root structure and the DNA of the trees. I thought that
That
was
that
pretty
that
cool.
that is correct. And this is probably one of our most popular pages on the website.
Yeah.
They also have they've installed some new cameras there so that you can visit virtually. And the peak season for bears is August, September, when the humpies or the pink salmon, as they call them, start to run. But you can see them there earlier in the year too. But really, if you're a photographer going after the bears, and again, an independent traveler, your August and September is prime time for bears.
I love it. I love it. All right, JR, where's next?
Here, why don't we go on to the Stickeen River next?
Okay.
I just really want people to really grasp that beautiful photo taken, just to really get an idea of this river. And it's just like also another photographer's dream just to come here and to like really capture in. But it's just a very beautiful river. There's like a lot of recreation activities. As Ed mentioned earlier, fishing is definitely one of the prime fishing locations. And it's just a very beautiful trip. And we also do our operations there in a Stickeen frequently. So I definitely really recommend doing an adventure out on the Stickeen River if you ever come up to Wrangell. There's
Okay.
also just a little bit of a documentary here. Check out
Okay.
the Stickeen River in the wild for anyone to check out.
Oh wow.
So
I love the
The
meadow
Stickeen
and the
River,
water.
yeah, the Stickeen River runs clear up into Canada. So after you run up for about 35 miles, then you end up into Canada, and up towards Telegraph Creek, and that's where the gold miners all went up this route up into there, and then up into Canada, and then up in the mountains along the ice sheet. So, for history buffs, a lot of history along there where they'd run up the river or they'd paddle up the river, and then they'd take their boats apart, and then they'd use lakes to put their boats back together, and then paddle across the big long lakes or up further rivers. So a whole lot of history from the gold rush up in that area.
Very nice. These are wonderful photos. It's like I just cannot, unless you've been there, you just cannot appreciate it. It's magnificent, and I have to check out the YouTube video, and we'll have a backlink to the YouTube as well on our show notes.
Mhm.
Which
And
it's
there's our
people
extra tough boots. I like that. There you go.
exactly, and people don't realize how big Alaska is. If we were to cut Alaska into thirds, Texas would be the fourth largest state.
All right. So everything's
Mhm.
bigger in Alaska. I like that. Okay.
Exactly.
I love it.
Exactly.
Okay. Where's next, JR?
You know what? Why don't we go to interactive 3D maps? I feel like this is a really cool design. Give more background on this map is that we've partnered with Wander to help
Hmm.
create this immersive map, and it helps give visitors more of an idea of where everything's at. So,
Okay.
like all the trails, our locations like Anan, cabins, what local businesses are in the area. It just gives you like a very good top-down view
Oh
of
wow.
just where you need to go. Gives you a little bit of information regarding that. And
Mm.
it's also just like a great planner tool. So you can just plan it out by yourself with your family on, okay, well, let's go here. Shouldn't take us like 2 hours, etc. And yeah, we're still working on it, just trying to make sure all of our information is accurate. But yeah, if visitors just needs a better idea of what's in Wrangell, this is really the best place to be.
Okay.
And
And
this goes,
also,
this, go, yeah, this goes back to
oh,
immersive. This is
yeah,
for the independent traveler that wants to do immersive stuff because you can go out and stay at a Forest Service cabin and then hike to another Forest Service cabin. I mean,
right.
these are people that do want to get off the grid. Oh, it's totally doable here. 7 days, you'll still want to stay longer. If you do 7 days in Wrangell, you'll still say, wow, I could have used another week there.
All right. Well, all of my stuff, when I moved from Chicago to Las Vegas, almost all of my stuff is in storage. And I've realized if it's been in storage that long, I don't need it anymore. So I could probably relocate very easily to Wrangell. And something, one of my another colleague, Matt Dickerson, he's a scholar up in Vermont, but he's also been a visiting scholar in some of your state parks in Alaska. And I'm not quite, I don't remember exactly where they were, but I mean, it's got to be a great experience. You're at one of these state park lodges and just kind of hang out for weeks on end, just to be creative, write, and take advantage of of the nature. And the other thing that's not lost on me, by the way, gentlemen, is Wrangell is an island, and then the
Mhm.
town itself is up in this little peninsula here.
Yes, I can answer that question. So, what's a fun fact about Wrangell is that 98% of the borough land is owned by the federal government, meaning that the Tongass Natural Forest is protected. It's like
Right,
a blessing and a curse because it preserves the integrity of the forest and provides unlimited recreational activities for visitors,
right.
but it also limits economic opportunities with little land available for development. So that little town right there is like the 1% of
Okay.
like the Wrangell, and then everything else is Tongass National Forest.
Okay. Oh, there's the golf course. I see it now.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You've never golfed until you've golfed in Alaska at 1 a.m. when it's still light out.
I'm gonna have to get the roommate's boyfriend. Let's come on, Michael. We're going on a trip, and bring your and I, I imagine he can rent golf clubs there somewhere. But
Of course. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
very good. Anything? There's my favorite subject: eat and drink, which we'll talk about in a minute. Anywhere else that you suggest that we go?
Let's
Well,
see.
an easy walk, that is another site that's kind of anthropologic, if you will, and always Petroglyph Beach, which is all the way north, the very, very north tip of the island, just north of the town. And it's totally
Mention.
walkable to get out there. There's a blue dot out there, I think. And those are
It's
carved in the stone and have been there for thousands of years. And
Okay.
there's different kinds of carving. So we've had people from all over the world come out and study them, and they're doing some 3D mapping and looking at trying to figure out what all the symbols make. There is a particular spiral shape
Right.
that they have found all over the world, and they don't exactly know what it means because it is so similar. And these are people that had never connected before.
Okay.
So it's one of those things. If you like the celestial cosmos type stuff, how do all these different tribes from across our world carve this same thing, this same pattern, whether it be on a rock, in a cave, painted, or actually cut into the land, like some of the spirals that are down in South America. Very,
Okay.
very interesting stuff.
Yeah. Very much. Well, I love this. And I think this is just a great way for visitors or folks that are contemplating visiting just to see what's in store for them when they come in and have a visit. Quick question, gentlemen, because this is always
Mhm.
near and dear to my heart. No, well, first off, we have a lot of history. We've got the culture. Let me go click on that. So we've got City Hall. We've got the
The public
museums,
library.
public library, post office, the Wrangell Sentinel. Near and dear to my heart is this word: eat and drink.
Mhm.
Now, uh, where What's your now that you're new here in Wrangell, J.R. When you're not cooking at home because you got to save money, we can't afford to go out all the time. But if you're going to
Mhm.
go out and enjoy a good meal, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, where are you going to go?
Oh, it is kind of a tough one because a lot of what's listed here is like really good.
Yeah.
They're not listed here just yet. We're still updating the map, but the Wolf Shack,
Okay.
they're like a very new business that opened up recently, and I do really love their burgers. I think really made like a great burgers I haven't had in a long time.
Hmm.
And if you're going in for like a cup of coffee and just like a little sweet treat on the go, I definitely recommend Sweet Tie's Bakery.
Okay.
They made some like really great pastries and some like very good breakfast. I had their breakfast burrito there and it was really good.
Okay. Ed, how about you?
If I had a favorite from growing up there, it would be now the Wolf Shack. It used to be called the Snack Shack back in the day.
Okay.
A new couple own it. The food is really, really good. I know last night they had shrimp burgers was their special. They also have a great halibut sandwich, deep fried
Okay.
halibut sandwich. That's a great place to go. The Stikine is more of your finer dining, the Stikine Inn.
Okay.
And then on Friday nights, my wife and I always do a pizza date, and we go down to the Hungry Beaver, which is co-located right on the inner harbor with the Marine Bar, and that pizza has been good since I was a kid growing up there. But
I
there's a
love
there's
it.
a little bit for everything, and then we have an Elks Club there. So if you're an Elks member, you can get really good steak on Saturday nights and burgers, and then the American Legion has specials there as well. But there's not a place that you walk into that doesn't have good. Zach's Cafe, the gentleman there, he cooks everything from scratch, even his bread and buns. And that's right across from the carving shed or the cultural center where I work, where we have Indian carvers and they're working on the new totems that are being produced.
Okay. Very cool. Well, this is great. You've got a lot to offer, and I think it's going to definitely whet people's appetite and the fact it's not difficult to get here and to Wrangell, and they can do it. And I think this is wonderful. So thank you, gentlemen, for taking us on a tour of the website.
Mhm.
Now for the miracle of technology again, I'm going to stop sharing. And before we head out, first, Ed, you've been this is your hometown. You've been spent your life here. Now you do some you thaw out a little bit when you go down to the lower 48. But as you kind of look back on your journey, and what would you want to share with folks who are want to contemplate coming to Wrangell and just taking advantage of the best that it has to offer in terms of nature and culture and history, and really becoming more in tune with the native residents?
I appreciate that question. And can I answer it two ways?
Sure.
One is, let's say that you're in San Diego, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and you just want to do a weekend getaway or say 4 days. This is a great way to unplug, easy access to Wrangell. You can leave your phone in the hotel room or at your Airbnb or your extended stay, whatever you decide to do, and just get out and and see Wrangell. Most people that come to Wrangell come back. The second way to answer that question is if you are a serious traveler, and I have traveled the world, both in the military and then outside of the military, and I've run several convention centers. Make it an immersive experience. Don't come and rush. Come, relax, and learn. And if you open your eyes and open your heart, you will see a beautiful place that still is not unlike the 60s and 70s. I mean, we've modernized a little bit. I think we just did add kind of a flashing stoplight. So we maybe have our first stoplight in town. They had one that caused so many accidents they had to take out back in the
It's
70s.
like,
But
I
I would
don't need
say
stoplight.
exactly. So I would say
Mhm.
immerse yourself, come, slow down. The people are so wonderful and genuine and generous. You'll be once they meet you, they'll be giving you rides if you wanted to run somewhere. Like I said, it's totally walkable, but they're going to open their homes, they're going to share their families with you, they're going to share their meals. It is just a wonderful place. It's probably the best kept secret in Southeast Alaska. And that's why I went back. I wanted to give back to it, to share my love for the community that raised me and gave me the skill set that I left with to then travel the world.
Oh, I love it. And I appreciate that. And I can imagine some of the stories like yourself, the longtime residents have about not only growing up in Wrangell, but also the experiences that they have had, whether it's fishing, hiking, carving the totems, all right? And anything that involves just being closer to nature and and synchronicity with it, as opposed to trying to control things like we do in the lower 48 sometimes. But wonderful stories, I'm sure. JR, before we head out, what would be your aha moment or insight that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes, I think our insights, there's like a quote that I like to use. I see my path, but I don't know where it leads. Not knowing where I'm going is what inspires me to travel it. And that quote was made by Rosalia de Castro, 19th century poet and novelist of the Spanish literature. And that's kind of like more related to our tagline, travel outside the lines. It's because aside from like cruise ships, not too many people really know about Wrangell. And that's kind of like what we're trying to do right now is like spread the message about Wrangell, our history, our locations. This is such a beautiful place for you to come. And it's just like going to take some time out of your day to like look up like where to go and what to do. But it really is worth the experience just to come see and just immerse yourself in this beautiful town. And as Ed mentioned earlier, the people here are just so friendly. Like I haven't felt this welcomed in a town in a very long time. And I lived in a lot of towns in America, but I just really love it here. And I just really want people to experience the same thing I have.
I love it. And by the way, gentlemen, I think I have found some almost the whole headline. I've got to figure it out, but travel outside the lines, probably like travel Wrangell or visit Wrangell, discover Wrangell, but travel outside the lines. That's going to be the headline for this episode. So I love it when I can
Perfect.
make that connection during the episode. This is perfect. Ed, is before we head out, I know JR is going to share the website and Facebook and Instagram. Do we want to take people or just share with them the Wrangell Cooperative Association, or is there anything there? We can certainly share that on our show notes. Anywhere else that we should go?
In your show notes or as a lower third, just www.visitwrangell.com. Like I said, the tribal website itself is more of a governmental, where the immersive travel side would be on that. And then just like the Travel Wrangell site does, we go ahead and we have links there that'll take you to the Chamber of Commerce, or it'll take you to this, or it'll take you to that. So you can maneuver around and slide between all of the different websites from the borough, which is our term for municipality, and also the village on the Indigenous side. But yeah, look around. And the one great thing is, if you call us or you send us an email, because we are Wrangell and we care, you're not going to be talking to AI.
I love it. That's very important too. And by the way, just to share, I don't know if I shared this with you, JR, when we first spoke, but our next project, along with continuing the destinations like Wrangell, is we're actually starting to chat with the Chambers of Commerce. So maybe we should have another conversation after that about who to chat with. But I would just want to share that with you. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. I am really, to me, it's having experienced Alaska last year. It's like, what a wonderful place, and the beauty and and I love the fact it's walkable. It's very it's the opportunity to be to enjoy, but also not get in it. I don't like. I'm in Vegas. I have tourists all around me. All right. Sometimes I want to walk. I want to just slow tourism. I think that would be the word I would use. There's nothing quite like it. But I want to thank you both for taking the time to be on the show today and really sharing a lot of Wrangell, Alaska, and the best that it has to offer, and really your love, Ed, and your passion, and JR, your future with our audience. So thank you both.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Howard.
All right. Ed, say that again.
Good night.
All
It
right.
means thank you in Tlingit.
I love that. Thank you for gifting us with that. Ed, again, thank you. JR, thank you. Stay on the line. We're going to do a real quick close, and then we can all three have a final chat, okay? All right, folks, we have just been chatting with J.R. Meek, the Marketing and Community Development Coordinator for Travel Wrangell, and Ed Caum, the Tourism Coordinator for the Wrangell Cooperative Association. J.R. is pretty new to Wrangell, and we heard a little bit about his journey. And Ed, I mean, born and raised, and he went off, served our country, spends a little time in Florida, but I'm sure he's aching to get back up to Wrangell and just to kind of enjoy the spring and the summer. But really, we appreciated their insights and gifting us with a great discussion about what Wrangell, Alaska has to offer and why wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you would enjoy just kind of slowing down and enjoying some slow tourism. And just sounds like a wonderful community. And it's pretty straightforward, easy, I might add, to get there. Now, if you would like to learn more about Wrangell, we can visit their website. We'll have a link in our show notes to travelwrangell.com. We'll also have links back to their Facebook and Instagram pages. We'll also provide links back to the YouTube. And do check out that interactive guide. And really, if you are going to plan to get to Wrangell, you've got some great tools to help you make that happen. As for us, you can find this episode on our website, outdooradventureseries.com. We're also on Facebook and LinkedIn on our Outdoor Adventure Series pages. The video of this episode, which includes the tour that J.R. and Ed took us on for their website, will be available up on YouTube. And of course, you can listen to the audio of this episode wherever you get your podcasts from. Okay, folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, go out there, have a phenomenal day. And we look forward to having you join us on a future episode of the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast. Take care now.